This is VOA Africa.
Hello, I'm Esther Githui-Ewart. It's Monday, December 21st. This is Africa 54. Due to the global outbreak of COVID-19, Voice of America is taking every necessary precaution to safeguard its employees. So our broadcast will look a little different today and in the near future as we, out of an abundance of caution, reduce our staffing at VOA headquarters here in Washington. We're working to help keep you informed about what's going on, and we appreciate you staying with us on Africa 54. We begin Monday in East Africa, where Ethiopian refugees are evacuating border camps in Sudan as aid resources are diverted to Rakouba, the country's main camp where many still lack food and shelter. But refugees say the camp, far from the border, may be safer after the Sudanese army reported a cross-border raid last week. VOA's Heather Murdoch has more.
In the past week, hundreds of families have been bused from camps near the Ethiopian border here to Rakouba, where most of the roughly 50,000 new Ethiopian refugees in Sudan are now staying. A few days earlier, refugees were being told to come here to find food and shelter. But in recent days, the war in Ethiopia's Tigray region seems to be closer to the border than before, and refugees say moving further into Sudan has become more urgent. Many here arrived Thursday night from the Hashaba camp, not far from the border with Ethiopia.
I could hear planes hitting the town across the border, soldiers and gunfire.
Like many refugees who arrived in the past week, Kidani has no place to sleep and is waiting to register for basic necessities. The camp has quickly become crowded and families are making shelters out of their clothes or items they have found. When they fled their homes a little over a month ago, many people witnessed beatings, looting, and killings on the street. Even small children say they remember running past dead bodies as they fled. Phone and internet service is still blacked out in much of the region, so many of the war's details remain unknown. People who have been able to talk to their families inside the war zone say they are told it is no safer now than it was when they fled.
If I go back, I will certainly be killed.
There is no immediate relief even for the most vulnerable newly arrived in Rakouba.
I cannot collect water because I am too weak. My wife is also sick and she is pregnant. We need help, but we are not getting it here.
A statement posted on the Sudanese Army's Facebook page says soldiers were killed and property was destroyed in the recent cross-border attack, but it did not include further details. Heather Murdoch, VOA News, Rakouba Camp, Sudan.
The World Food Programme is warning that hundreds of thousands of people in northern Mozambique's conflict-ridden Cabo Delgado province are facing life-threatening shortages of food. Escalating violence and increased insecurity in Mozambique's three northernmost provinces, Cabo Delgado, Niassa and Nampula, are disrupting agricultural activities and causing food prices to skyrocket. The World Food Programme says this is spurring dangerous levels of hunger and malnutrition. The WFP says over 900,000 people in the region are reaching emergency levels of food insecurity. WFP spokesman Tomson Phiri says a recent mission to these areas found malnourished children on the brink of starvation. Despite an unprecedented campaign, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization warns that extensive breeding is giving rise to a new generation of locusts in the Horn of Africa. Soraya Ali reports.
The Horn of Africa started 2020 amid clouds of desert locusts and is set to end the year the same way, with the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization warning that extensive breeding is giving rise to a new generation of the crop-devouring pest. Despite what the FAO calls an unprecedented large-scale response campaign, locusts have remained a persistent threat. Something Fatuma Abi Dalmer, a farmer in Ethiopia's Somali region, knows all too well. Her community has been invaded by the swarms 3 times this year.
It has caused problems on our farm, and we couldn't produce the number of bags of barley that we used to harvest from the field. Now we have a problem in the family. What to give the kids and to the animals, because the remaining green leaves aren't enough for them, and there are no cereals for the kids.
The FAO says more than 3.2 million acres of locust infestations have been treated since January, and that control operations have prevented the loss of $800 million worth of cereal, enough to feed 18 million people a year. But unusually heavy rains have created the ideal conditions for extensive breedings, and swarms are already forming and threatening to spread. For communities across the Horn of Africa, that means starting 2021 without enough food. In Ethiopia alone, the FAO estimates that nearly 13 million people will face acute food insecurity in the first half of the year.
That was Soraya Ali of Reuters reporting. A doctor strike is underway in Kenya on Monday after physicians working in government hospitals walked out over inadequate insurance benefits and lack of protective equipment while treating COVID-19 patients, according to their union. The Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union posted on Twitter late Sunday that there had been no resolution of grievances raised over the last 8 months. Doctors working in hospitals run by regional county governments have also been staging strikes off and on since March over similar grievances. The union says 14 doctors have died of the virus since the first coronavirus case in Kenya was confirmed in March. Kenya's health ministry reported 349 new cases of COVID-19 Sunday, with 6 fatalities, bringing the number of confirmed cases to more than 94,000 and the number of deaths to over 1,600. In Tanzania, female circumcision, also known as female genital mutilation, is still practiced among some ethnic groups as a rite of passage into womanhood. Many girls are forced or coerced into it. As Charles Combe reports from Tanga, one group is trying to bridge the gap between health and tradition.
Margaret Sendeo is one of the countless young girls in Tanzania who are forced into female genital mutilation every day. She's now 14 years old, but one of the bad memories that lasts forever in her mind was when, at the age of 11, she nearly bled to death when she was subjected to FGM.
Tulikuwa watoto 9, tukapelekwa kwenye nyumba ile ya sherehe.
We were 9 girls at the time we were taken into the ceremony house. Then one woman came and started cutting us. We bled a lot. Some were taken to hospitals. Others have died. I was not willing, and I can't wish to see other girls undergoing circumcision.
More than 25% of girls and women have undergone FGM in Tanzania. In rural pastoral communities, many girls are forced to undergo FGM by their parents in the hopes of securing a hard dowry. Girls who have not undergone it are believed to be more promiscuous. Others are forced by their family in the name of tradition, an act without which they will be shunned in their villages.
If a girl gets married without being circumcised, according to us Maasai, it's a sin. That's why if married, then a man finds out that a Maasai girl is not circumcised, he will reject her because he says she's still a young girl and not a woman.
To end the brutal tradition, healthcare non-profit AMREF introduced an alternative rite of passage with non-harmful traditional rituals to mark and celebrate a girl's initiation into womanhood. More than 15,000 girls have gone from girlhood to womanhood while avoiding FGM.
The alternative passage of age. Once they've come of age, we follow all their traditions but add one segment, teaching the girls on reproductive health and their gender rights. We are also celebrating the age passage ceremony together, but without circumcision. So, we've removed the circumcision segment and we plan to remove it permanently.
This was also a way to make a living for circumcisers through getting money and gifts. But through the program, circumcisers have stopped their business. AMREF is now providing them with assistance in the form of loans.
When I circumcise a girl, I get one goat, which is like 50,000 shillings. But now I have stopped to circumcise girls. Until this time, I don't circumcise anymore.
Although the practice is illegal in Tanzania, it continued illegally in some communities, which carried it out in secret initiation or rite of passage ceremonies.
Tunakoelekea tatizo linakwenda kupungua.
The problem is starting to decrease, but nowadays statistics show that some communities, especially the cow-based communities, they have noticed that the government has been strong in fighting these acts. What they do is that as soon as a child is born, they immediately circumcise her.
Meanwhile, Margaret is celebrating the same ceremonies that led her into FGM 3 years ago. But now she's smiling, as more than 450 girls of her age mark the passage of age without undergoing the hostile traditional act. Charles Kombe, for VOA News, Tanga, Tanzania.
Nigeria's government has announced a natural gas expansion program to urge vehicle owners to convert their gasoline engines to run on the cheaper and cleaner burning natural gas. As Timothy Obiezu reports from Abuja, the initiative also aims to reduce Nigeria's dependence on oil.
Authorities launched a natural gas expansion program in Abuja this month, targeting 1 million vehicles for free conversion by the end of 2021. The aim is to provide a cleaner and more affordable alternative to gasoline by boosting the use of domestic natural gas.
We believe that a lot of the operational cost hitherto, which is by diesel and PMS, will be reduced to a BRS minimum. Of course, we at the beginning we will experience some hiccups in terms of familiarity with the tanks, the usage, and the installation of the devices to make it compliant. But in the long run, of course, we are going to enjoy.
Nigeria ranks 9th globally with over 200 trillion cubic feet of natural gas reserves, but those reserves are largely underutilized. Currently, 90% of Nigeria's earnings come from foreign crude oil sales. With the coronavirus pandemic, global oil prices dropped and so did Nigeria's earnings, prompting the country to end fuel subsidy programs that sparked protests nationwide. Officials say tapping into its natural gas reserves will help Nigeria become less dependent on oil, diversify its economy, and create 2 million jobs.
This administration is dedicated to implementing programs that are focused on improving the life of its citizens, creating jobs, building indigenous technical expertise, and stimulating other sectors of the economy to address unemployment amongst our youth.
But car mechanics like Adamu Monday say the plan could cause them to lose their jobs unless they upgrade their skills.
Federal government can make it to be available for every technician, or to open a forum or a lecture room whereby some of us can go there to learn before we can be able to go on with this. It will be okay for us.
Converting engines to use natural gas is seen as one way to cut down on carbon emissions. The conversion process is easily reversible and offers vehicle users the ability to interchange petrol or gas engines at will. Timothy Obiezu for VOA News, Abuja.
We're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Still to come, Britain starts to shut down due to concerns over a new mutation of the coronavirus as the US rolls out a second vaccine. We'll be right back.
Health, wellness, sport, beauty, medical breakthroughs. Healthy Living cares about your well-being. What are the main health concerns in Africa and around the world? Find out the latest on coronavirus. Connect with our experts and ask them questions.
How long does the virus stay?
Join me, Linor Mudu, in Washington every week on Healthy Living, right here on VOA.
Hello, welcome Welcome to Straight Talk Africa, live from the Voice of America headquarters here in Washington. I am Shaka Sali. Straight Talk Africa, we call it like it is. We discuss issues that reflect the interests of our audience without fear or favor. We are guided by facts, and I look at myself as a servant of nothing but the truth.
Welcome back to Africa 54. As a second vaccine against the novel coronavirus is being rolled out across the United States ahead of the Christmas holiday, Britain is shutting down out of concern that a new mutation of the virus is highly contagious. Michelle Quinn has more.
A new vaccine against the coronavirus by U.S. biotech firm Moderna is expected to be rolled out across the U.S. this week. But it comes as the nation is seeing record daily numbers of COVID-19, the disease caused by the coronavirus, with 113,000 people currently hospitalized, according to the COVID Tracking Project. Despite 6 recipients of the Pfizer vaccine experiencing severe allergic reactions, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, U.S. officials say people should get the vaccine when it's available.
It's widely recommended for everyone because we know it's 95% effective, as much as 100% effective at preventing severe disease. And this is the way we end the pandemic, by getting 70 or 80% of the American people vaccinated.
In Britain, news that a mutation of the virus is more contagious has led the country's leaders to institute new restrictions. And France, Germany, and other European countries are blocking travelers coming from Britain. Leaders in the U.S. and Britain stressed the vaccines would be effective against the new strain, which isn't necessarily deadlier.
I don't think there should be any reason for alarm right now. We continue to watch. That's why we do it.
Parts of the U.S., such as the Midwest and the Northern Plains, have reversed significant outbreaks. That progress has been offset by extreme cases in the Deep South, parts of the East, and California. Even with days left before the Christmas holiday, Apple announced that it was temporarily closing all of its stores in California.
We know what to do, and if Americans do these things, we can flatten the curve and save literally tens of thousands of lives if we do these things before we get the vaccine out.
The pandemic, he said, will not be forever, but people must pull together to get through what may be a dark winter. Michelle Quinn, VOA News.
After the United Kingdom announced that a new coronavirus strain has led to spiraling infection numbers, several European countries imposed travel restrictions on Britain. Maha Al-Badrawi reports.
Several European countries have shut their borders to Britain due to concerns over a new, rapidly spreading coronavirus strain. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced on Saturday that the new virus strain had led to spiralling infection numbers. That prompted Belgium to announce that it was closing its borders to trains and planes coming from the UK, and the Netherlands to suspend flights. Italy says it's planning a similar ban, and a German health ministry official said restrictions would be imposed on flights from Britain and South Africa, which has also detected a new coronavirus strain. Austria is also reportedly planning to ban flights. Spain said, in light of the moves by other countries, it was asking the European Commission and European Council for a coordinated response. Otherwise, it would act unilaterally to defend its interests and citizens. On Saturday, Johnson imposed a new Tier 4 level of tougher restrictions on more than 16 million people in England, and abruptly abandoned plans to allow 3 households to mix indoors over the festive period, less than a week before Christmas. Immediately after the announcement, there was a dash to train stations and people tried to travel home before restrictions came into force. On Sunday, the city was eerily quiet. Places like Covent Garden, normally heaving with visitors and shoppers, left empty. Those who could be found in the streets of London, like Brad Nichols, expressed the view that it was the right decision, but that the government had left it too late.
Yeah, I'm pretty upset about it. I think the lack of planning and the lack of ability to tell people that this was going to happen in advance of when it did caused a lot of havoc and confusion. So.
Health Minister Matt Hancock said the decision to impose the restrictions had been taken speedily, and he condemned crowding at train stations as irresponsible.
Reuters' Maha Al-Badrawi with that report. Because the first coronavirus vaccine approved for use in the US needs to be transported in ultra-cold conditions, using dry ice has created some unique challenges. As Licia Bacalet reports in this story narrated by Anna Rice, transporting the Pfizer vaccine has led to a huge demand for dry ice.
Dry ice is the solid form of carbon dioxide, and it can be as cold as minus 78 degrees Celsius.
This is a pellet. This is what they're going to use. It is white, as you see. It is smoking. You can see that smoke come off of there. So that's dry.
Harry Game is the owner of Game & Sons, an Ohio company that has been producing dry ice for decades. He says demand for his product has risen 10 to 15% in recent weeks. That's because dry ice must be used to keep the Pfizer COVID vaccine in extremely cold temperatures during transportation, at minus 70 degrees Celsius. Pfizer transports its new vaccine in specially designed boxes. Each box needs a new supply of dry ice every 5 days.
One challenge is that the box cannot be opened very frequently. If you open the box, that dry ice would sublimate more quickly, right? Because the temperature gets warmer.
The other problem is high levels of carbon dioxide can be deadly, especially on board airplanes.
Planes are equipped to handle a certain amount of air exchange in the aircraft as it's flying. But you don't want to have so much on the aircraft that it would overpower that ability to replenish the oxygen levels in the aircraft.
Despite the rise in demand for dry ice, experts say there's plenty to go around.
So when we looked at the system, we're pretty confident that we can meet that capacity.
The only alternative to dry ice is special refrigerators with ultra-cold settings. Some hospitals and research centers in large cities have those. And companies that make these refrigerators say they're seeing a rise in demand as well.
We literally have added probably about 50% more people into our organization. And we went out and bought $2-3 million worth of material so that we can actually get out in front of it. Now, the demand has clearly outstripped even what we thought was going to be our solution.
Other coronavirus vaccines are much less problematic. The Moderna vaccine can be transported in minus 20 degrees Celsius temperatures, which will make it much easier to transport to more remote areas. For Licia Bacalet in Washington, Anna Rice, VOA News.
In our sports news, COVID-19 and social distancing are making going to the gym risky, so people are increasingly exercising outdoors. VOA's Faiza El Masri visited outdoor fitness classes in Springfield, Virginia.
2 more. 1, 2, 3. Good, Stephanie. I've taught this class for probably 12 years. It's a combination of Pilates and yoga. And so we combine the core strength and the strength and flexibility and some meditation of the yoga. And 8 more. 1.
It's just nice to be outside and enjoy the fresh air.
2.
And not be in a closed room. The balance aspect, you have to work a little harder at whatever you're doing because there's the uneven surface underneath of you. So you get an added exercise that way.
11.
The program that we're doing right now is outdoor fitness classes.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Due to not having any indoor classes right now for social distancing and COVID and disinfecting everything, we needed to implement something to give to the customers. We're only allowing 9 people. We have to make sure the customers are safe. A lot of customers are not ready to come inside. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a warm-up. We've implemented virtual classes where you can just click a link and then take classes.
I was fortunate that my company allowed us to work from home almost immediately in March. The drawback of that is that most of my workouts were done at the fitness center at work, so it really took a toll on my exercise routine.
Oh yeah, I like it.
The obvious benefit is that I'm able to do this with my 14-year-old son. Just as my workout routine was affected by not being able to go to the gym at my office, his workout routine, not having physical education in school, was also affected. It's been great to have an opportunity to work on his fitness as well as my fitness and do something together. It's a bonding exercise.
Honestly, the body combat has been like a great life-changing experience. I came from being like, oh man, I don't know what to do, the gym is down. And now I'll be like, wow, I got a transformation and I didn't even need to go to the gym.
We have lots of space, and so everybody can do it and feel safe. A lot of us are at home and maybe we're not in our office, and so maybe our chairs aren't right and developing aches and pains because we're not ergonomically correct. 9, and so we can come here and kind of undo.
Exercise is very important for the body, not just physically but also emotionally, and especially when we're under times of stress.
3, 2, 1.
And make you feel better about yourself, make your body healthier. It's just a great way to get out there and do something and not just be stationary or sitting in front of the television.
Hey, great.
And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, thank you for watching.